right here they are. So right here they are taking this massive feed in at this time of day. It's winter and it's 11 o'clock. And also there's been plenty more. There's been sunlight available, solar coming in since 8 o'clock in the morning. And what this is all about the controlled hot water load, which I never get to the correct price like I used to with the old meter. Because it's the controlled hot water load, right? Used to have a separate meter at a cheaper rate, and so they make out as though that's still a thing. It is not a thing, because every time they turn that on, it immediately goes out of my battery, which means I never get the cheaper rate. The only rare case is when my battery's got nothing in it, and then I'm still questioning whether I even get that, because you've got no way of knowing that at your end. You're absolutely subject to whatever they send you on that piece of paper. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is my hot water needs to go on now. And so instead of them using the free power that I paid for, they are extorting it away from me, so as my hot water's not getting heated. And so what they're doing, two things, is they're taking the first of the crop of the morning of my solar for themselves instead of for me. Now I bought this power plant, right? And they are taking the first of the crop every day when I need hot water. So they do that. And so then they put the hot water on so that it hits your battery later on, because it's all about time every day. And so when they do that, what happens is your battery ends up being lower at an earlier time as the sun starts to go off. And in fact, last winter, and there has been times this winter too, where actually it's been last winter, it was almost all last winter. They had run it because I wasn't monitoring it like I do now, forcing me to live very cold. I mean, I wake up in the morning, it's 10 degrees in here. You know, it's absolute horrible what they've done, and not to mention I've been sicker than I've ever been since that smart meter was put in. And it doesn't seem to be letting up. I want it removed and they won't do it. And I have, even more reasons to have it removed when they're using that to run their net zero scam, where they basically control your power strength. So you got your aircon on at a certain day, they're going to go, oh, well, no, we're still going to charge you the same price for it, right? But we're only going to work at 20%. We're just going to turn the volume right down on it. And there you are in the freezing cold looking at your heater going, what the hell's going on? Shivering. And you still have to pay the same price. I mean, this net zero thing is the biggest scam the government's got. And it doesn't just hit one industry. And they're hiding behind that in order to reinforce these laws they're putting in place. And I tell you, if the Energy Commission, this board of private consultants that are just basically facilitating a massive scam, are allowed to do what they will, well, they're going to make it that we all are completely way worse off. And like this one chap here, he's fearing that the whole power network, with what they're trying to do, it's going to make it actually start crashing all over the place. Like they're actually going to destroy it. They've got these things they're doing now with people with their expensive Tesla cars, that they can reverse the power out of the battery. And I'll tell you, anyone who's got a Tesla car will say the hardest thing they have to do is get power into the car. So you just can't make this stuff up. And that's it. They're going to take the power out of your battery and give it to you at 8 cents a kilowatt when you paid 56 cents for it already. So it's the biggest scam. And then once you've already paid that much, they're either going to take it off you for free, or they're going to turn it down so that you don't even get to use the strength of it. And as it already is here, and I can prove it, I charge my battery like it's now at 100%. I'll go starting using power, and they're going to start charging me grid consumption when I'm only using the power out of my own battery. Figure that out. So what that means is I've already paid to have that power put in there. In many cases, I've actually paid the company because I charge it this time of year at night time when it's cheaper. And I set about using it, and then they monitor that I'm using my own battery. And I go, oh, well, let's create another false record, because effectively it's a false record. I didn't get any more power. And I've already paid for that power. That's the other thing. I'm just now using it. And then they create a whole new, they say I'm using grid consumption when I'm just using power out of my own battery. So yeah, what they've done here, and the fine print and all the contracts and everything, is nothing short of how do you say it? It's I'm trying to think of the word you can say in English. A Trojan horse, I mean, I'm just trying to think of, something like that. I mean, effectively, it's like they've put a sleech hack onto my equipment as soon as they put a smart meter in. And I'm in the unique scenario that I got videos prior to the smart meter going in. So you can see how my system set up by the solar company on the old meter and how it worked by default. You couldn't even turn it off. You'd hit the mains, it wouldn't turn off. Right? So that's how they set it up, and you can't turn it off. And so basically, as soon as they put the smart meter in, they actually put in a switch on that smart meter, where in other countries, people have to prepay for their power and stuff like that. So they've now made it possible, because legally, they can't come onto your property by law and turn off your old meter. They're legally not allowed to do that. But what they've done in this new scam is they've made it that they can turn off your power in your whole property. So this is part of the control that's been given away to them. And see, here in Australia, they're not milking it. Like how it works, it's not the same in other countries where people do fear about that switch. What they've done here is they've made it that when you switch your power off, it switches your whole system off, which is just completely it's just a complete sabotage of your equipment. So I don't know how on earth the smart meter's been able to disable your equipment and become the industry standard. Well, I do. It's because they can use this thing to scam everybody, and that's exactly what they're doing. And they've already done it in many countries around the world, including England, where they already are onto this. And all the power companies, rather than being bought, I'm going to say, have said, no, we will let you remove that smart meter, blah, 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 every one of them. And so here in this country, they're in bed so much with the government, these investors, and the big business, that they're trying to put this stuff through as law. And the thing is, the knowledge is clearly available on this planet. If we evolve from monkeys, there's other monkeys out there that already figured it out. And the queen that's on the coins still, maybe it should be a king by now, it's that country. So that's what I don't get, that we are linked to them and their whole system, and yet they're letting us get scanned, and they know about it over there. So that's what I don't understand, why the Attorney General is letting this stuff all just slip. Is completely beyond me. But I guess that's probably who I'm going to start approaching next, to try and get some real help, because this has been absolutely abysmal, and it's nothing but a massive scam. And this isn't just little me. This is happening. They're trying to make laws so basically they've forced you into a situation where they can switch your power off anytime they want. It's going to, because you've got to realize they're just trying to put the tool in now. Once they got that tool in, they have complete power. And what's complete power? Well, to turn your life upside down, but turning your power off. That's what complete power is. And and power corrupts. Complete power corrupts people. So it's absolutely disgusting that the government is allowing them to have that sort of control. There's no competition left in the market. They've completely destroyed the industry, and they're doing it by making a new industry, a new act all around metering. Acumen Metering, which is the company I believe that are responsible for this scamming, and they're basically exploiting the Alpha ESS battery systems and this sort of thing, which are a global company, head office in China. You know, they've got branches into all over the world. It's just, don't think for one second that these global businessmen don't know how everything works. And don't think for one second that they're not in it for money. And what they're trying to do here is not only rip everybody off, but also, like I said, get that corrupting control over everyone, which they're already doing, because effectively what they've done is made it that it's the poor that are suffering, because by doing what they've done, it really can only be something that anyone could be comfortable with if they're making a lot of money. And so that's just it. It's a further division that's going to see further persecution of the less fortunate. And it already is happening. I'm in that socio-economic group myself, and I am in debt to the power company, as I've done my own analysing and this and that, and there is no way that I'm going to pay them when they are doing what they're doing. I mean, I'm essentially a deal maker. I have my money, and I choose to whom I want to pay it to. And what they've done here is nothing but bullying. They've forced their ways into my house. They've hijacked my equipment, and they expect me to sit here and be happy, you know, and they've done this all in the name of environment, which is the other most horrific, disgusting thing. Because what you aren't also considering is the companies in this industry and what sort of profits they're getting. Another thing, you're not considering the companies that have invested into this country billions of dollars just to install smart meters, and which same company from Canada also bought the metering capability of Origin here in SA, Acumen Meeting or IntelliHub. So, I mean, you can't make up this umbrella, this massive scam racket. And I mean a scam racket in that they own all of them. You ring in and you say, oh, look, they're screwing me over for my power. They, oh, what do you mean? They don't make any sense of it. They certainly don't mention the metering company. And for a year, I had no idea there was a metering company. I had no idea that the people that installed the smart meter have actually become, you know, the most direct relationship I have with regards to my power use. And then when you ring them, they tell you to piss off and go to the retailer. So there is absolutely no cooperation from the industry here. All that it is a perpetual motion to rip us all off. And 4 months ago, that media release, well, what are these people called? The Energy Commission in Australia, this new mob. What's her name? The evil one that runs it, that woman. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they should all be sacked. Whatever, I don't, Claire gonna kill you, something like that. Her name is. And I've never seen a bunch of people that look like they're all on OxyContin just sitting there just buzzing away going, oh, yet, you know what, they're just being a couple of voices to voice some very major issues, like the top of a iceberg, not to go into any of them, but then just to push through this whole control scam, which they rip everyone off into. This has been the power prophet. I don't know, I'm thinking I was going to call myself the electricity prophet. Don't feel very electric today, I must admit. See, here we are, for example. I'm being charged grid consumption when there's more solar coming in than what my load is. So this is just a perfect example. And so, you know, this is what kicked me off, going, hang on, what's going on, right? And so then I ring them up and they say, oh, your equipment's not certified. I'm like, what? What's that got to do with anything? So that's how they do their scam. You ring the OTR. The guy that runs, the most sensible person at the OTR you can get is an older fella there. Ask him about installing a smart meter. See what he says. Because I think you'll find he will balk at it. He said, I've got a video of it. I recorded the conversation. He said, I'm not going to put a smart meter in. I'm not that stupid. That's the office of the technical regulator. You know, it's like, where's the onus of the rest of the country, state, and everything? And I told him my house. See, here it is again, more ripping off. I told him my house almost burnt down because of those smart meter clowns. Oh, no, no, no. He started pointing the finger at the solar company. I said, mate, the solar company, they did their job. They did a perfect bloody job. The system was working brilliantly. It wasn't until your smart meter person came in, which made Origin back charge me for all the stuff I fed to the network as well. That was his job that did that. So this is all part of their massive scam. Only to find out that when they installed that smart meter, they didn't consider the hard wiring going to the street, which led to the fuse almost burning out on the side of my house. I had no power for 4 days. And my cousin's house, I mean, just look at the news. This house is burning down. And I told him about this. Oh, yeah, just another house going to burn down. I say, sort of a sarcastic way. And I hate to say that I said it like that, but I did. And he just didn't even seem to care. Now, this is the Office of Technical Regulator, and apparently they're meant to be all about caring about people dying from infrastructure being installed incorrectly. And you know what he went on to? He went on to, oh, well, that smart meter should have been installed sooner. I told him and I explained to him, you can't turn off the system on the old meter. It's hardwired. And he's trying to blame me or the solar company. It had nothing to do with this. It was all to do with the other company and their appointment, how they stuffed it up. It had nothing to do with me. And so, yeah, my house almost burnt down, and this is the sort of consideration you get from the OTR. Yeah, I'm sorry, this whole government's completely backwards. What I'm witnessing here is also a rip-off that you're seeing happening on my system. I need zero grid consumption. That battery pumps out at over 3,000 watts. This figure here. So this can be 3,000, and I don't need any solar, provided I have battery. So what you're witnessing now is just a straight scam. And they do it every day. And I'm fed up with it. And that's why I've got this convention though. I can show you every day how they're ripping everyone off. And so they say, oh, you don't have certified equipment. And then they just drop the fight. They say, oh, we're not going to fight for you anymore because you can't actually prove what you're saying. And then he says, oh, this is the guy at the OTR. Oh, well, maybe they should make up an extra department that the ombudsman, the energy and water ombudsman engages for people like me to come out with the proper harmonic testing equipment to basically certify the equipment I've got here. Now let's just remember this, the government incentivized this in the environment and made me install this equipment that shows me one graph of my inverter with no totals. However, that one graph, and it shows me this active 10-second data of what's happening in my very expensive inverter and battery system. Which the other thing is, this inverter is responsible for swapping DC into AC current. And it even tells you what it did, how much it lost, all your tolerance ratings, all this sort of really full-on accurate stuff that is completely bona fide. And so I'm going off its graph that I'm showing you here that they are scamming it. It's not actually the power usage on location. And see, like what you're saying here, the system is set to work in a certain way, and the government and their laws, they've been able to hijack my battery as though it's their own network. And they don't care how my battery got power into it. They've been charging me to use my own power. And the other thing is they've been they're watering down my power. Some days I'll go use this cook plate here and it will take me 45 minutes to cook when it should take 15 or so on a hot plate. On a gas cooker, it'd take me 15 minutes. I mean, look at this. Okay, so they put the hot water load on, that's what that means. What is the time? So 11:24. So this should have come on at least 2.5 hours ago. I'm now turning off all my heaters. You watch that load drop. I didn't want to turn the heaters off. I just checked. It's 13 degrees inside. I wouldn't mind having one on. And see, look at this. I mean, this is just absolutely absurd because the battery pumps out at 3, right? So they've hijacked my equipment. Not only can they make my power stronger or weaker on any appliance they choose to throw a profile at, but they can go ahead and what they were just doing then. I don't think anyone is quite grasping just what the Australian government is doing. And remember too, these are the ones that are responsible for the amount of fluoride that's been put in the water that's causing everyone cancer. And if you haven't done your own research, and it's not fluorine, they put fluoride in. Fluorine's the natural fluoride, same chemical. And they came out saying it was fluorine. I mean, that is completely false. Anyway, these people are dying. So why do they do it? Because that's toxic waste. Fluoride is toxic waste from making aluminium, and it costs a lot of money to dispose of. And you've probably got tankers floating around the ocean with countries going, we don't want it. And then you've got this happening where they're putting it in the water because they get paid a lot of money per barrel. And what I was trying to say to you is Hitler experimented with fluoride in his concentration camps. He found that he could turn people into like completely docile, just like brain dead zombies that would just follow along. And it's also personally, since I did all this research, I learned that stuff when I was growing up. Before I was even 20, I learned that stuff. Anyway, by the time I was 20, I think younger than that, but I've been drinking spring water, or at least reverse osmosis water. See, look at this grid consumption, nothing but a scam. And so what I'm saying, this system is designed and set to work at a certain measure. As soon as they put the smart meter in, they completely hijack it. It no longer works for you. What you paid for, you are not getting the benefit of. They are. And then they pull this crap where they malfunction the system to make more money for them. Where does it come from? Out of your pocket. And then they use this hot water load to control you so that if in their ideal circumstance, just look at my last year's thing. You'll see that they've been putting this hot water load on like 3 times a day sometimes, completely just making sure that your battery had nothing in it every afternoon, which forces you to have to buy peak power, and then what they're trying to do now is to stop you using your power during peak, to say we're saving the environment with the zero thing. Yeah, how are they doing it? They're cutting us all up in a bloodbath. That's what they're doing, because we paid for it all. Come on, Australia, wake up. How are you going to let them do this to us? Government, how are you going to let them do this to us? Quite frankly, they should all be put in jail, and anyone in government should undergo a full psychological evaluation to make sure they're decent people that aren't ripping off the country. I mean, straight up, what you're seeing here is not legit. And I know it because I've got that many videos where I'll look here, this will be a lesser amount. I'll come down to the graph here where it says consumed, and like you can see here, there was no additional consumption at all. So I know my system was set up and it's working how it's supposed to, and they're just falsifying it by hijacking it and making up this bullshit smart meter impression for me to watch to get away with it all. Because the government says it's certified. It ain't certified when they control your equipment. That's called false scales. That's what that's called. When you say it costs this much and you only give us a watered down product, or when you start charging me to use power out of my own battery, which what I'm looking at right now is like what I just told you, this is a scam. They keep presenting these false negatives. This is not accurate data, and they have hijacked and malfunctioned the equipment in order to rip me off. And they're going to do it to everyone. And the other thing is, by them having a smart meter put in, they've got the ability to switch the power off without even coming on your property. So I know you don't think about that much now, but with this net zero thing and the control of the companies behind the power that are extorting people like this, you should see what they've done in other countries using these devices. And also, there's going to be a lot more elderly, infirm and stuff that haven't got help that are going to be freezing to death. I mean, the last, 6 months I've lived here have been amongst the worst of my life. I've got my own personal matters, but then to have to be cold, and I've been cold that whole bloody time, plus sick, because this thing here emits frequencies and stuff. I can't even sleep in that one room now. You can't make up what they're doing here. This is some of the most disgusting behavior I've ever seen of any role of governance. I mean, this is just an outright lie that we're witnessing. And see, the numbers, they'll make these numbers go up. They'll make that go up. And you'll look here, and there'll be nothing on your local inverter. In other words, you didn't use power. This here is an exact representation of my house. When I say I didn't use power, I didn't use any grid consumption, and yet we just saw them saying I was. And they're charging me for it. So I don't know how on earth the government and that are in power, other than that they're abusing it, and that they've been bought. Because there's no other logical reason for what's going on here. Oh, that heater might still be on. Yeah. Oh no. Oh no, when it's down, it's off. That's right. That's another lovely thing they do with the smart devices. They make them confusing. Well, that bar heater here, to turn the switches on, it's the opposite way around than activating it. So they play all sorts of dirty stuff. And this is specifically a smart device. So what they're doing and how they're trying to set this all up is for this net zero crap. Well, you'll buy a smart device. What they've done is they've gained an ID to that device to control it, that one device exclusively. And then they'll throw a profile at it. And so, you're cold, you want to put your heater on, you chuck it on high, they'll only make it work 20%. And they'll charge you the same price. I mean, you just can't make this up. This is complete corruption. It's the energy profit. Over and out. Switching them off one at a time. I don't know. I need a catchphrase, people. Yeah, leave a catchphrase in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.